TradeWinds Global is an independent investment advisory firm that offers a variety of different investment vehicles. This podcast is provided for informational purposes only and should not be construed as individual investment advice. Past performance is not indicative of future results, and any opinions expressed thereof are subject to change. The information here within is obtained from various sources, and TradeWinds does not guarantee the accuracy or completeness of information provided by third parties. The information in this report is given as of the date indicated and believed to be reliable. TradeWinds assumes no obligation to update this information or to advise on further developments relating to it. TradeWinds does not offer legal or tax advice and will not accept investment offers via social media.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the BizDev Podcast, the podcast about developing your business. I'm David Baxter, joined as always by Gary Voigt, who is also an amateur synchronized swimmer. How's it going, man?
It's going pretty good. My last competition went very well, so I might be looking at some sponsorships, turning pro.
Nice. Maybe you can get one of those earplug sponsors. I've always been amazed at how intense.
You're saying earplug, but you're pointing at your nose, so I don't know.
Did I say earplugs? I said nose plugs. Nose plug. No, I hear out of my nose. That's why it's so large. Anyway.
Okay.
Anywho, so we'll keep up on his career on synchronized swimming. More importantly, we are joined by Tim Whitney, who is joining us. He is the CEO of TradeWinds, and we are going to be talking to him about what TradeWinds is and all that good stuff. But I wanted to start. We're going to go do a blast from the past a little bit and talk crypto because this is something that Tim enjoys very much. And I had heard from a little birdie, Tim, that you are a crypto fan. Is that correct or is that incorrect? Because I'm not. If you've ever listened to the show, I'm not. So I thought we could spar. Let's go.
I like that. I think you may not like the fight we're about to get into because I'm also not technically a fan of crypto or cryptocurrency. I think it's been oversold and overhyped. I'm actually a big fan of Web3 and the blockchain, which is the technology underneath it. That's the more important thing, not the crypto.
Okay. I'm on Tim's side. Fair. It's 2-1.
No, because I'm exactly right where you are. I thought you were pro crypto, and I was like, let's go. But if you're not, then what I want to ask you then, because I've thought the same thing about blockchain. But here's the problem I'm finding with blockchain. Outside of crypto, which was the killer app, right? Everyone says this is the entry to blockchain. We're going to show everybody the power of it, and then it's going to take over the world. Okay, fair. It's cool tech. But crypto has proven to be a Ponzi scheme. I'm sure I'll get hate mail for that. But for all intents and purposes, NFTs and and crypto has turned out to be, for all intents and purposes, a Ponzi scheme, legalized or not. So what is the killer app of blockchain? Now that crypto has exploded, how does blockchain, as the tech underneath it, how does it rise from those ashes?
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, quickly, just kind of to preempt that is that it should have been blockchain Web3 development first, and then the coin was a byproduct of that, the currency. And then it became this kind of zombie. It flipped all of a sudden, right? We forgot about what it was built upon, the protocols, and then everybody thought this Bitcoin, Ethereum, these Shiba Inu coins and things like that were the hot topic. And you're right, that's where people got killed. I don't know why it became a beanie baby all of a sudden, but those are going to have to die. Unfortunately, when you have something brand new like that and you're setting out on a frontier like crypto, you have to have people get killed a little bit before you get regulated. So we're not there yet. It's the pendulum's still swinging. That being said, what is the hype thing? The smart contract is the hype thing. That's where things are going to be exponential as where we move through future-proofing full industries and sectors. The finance is just one, transportations, documentation, legal documents, all the way through. If you've got a great idea and you want to protect it, you can put it on the blockchain through a smart contract. That's what's going to really drive forward the world, the technology.
Now, when you say smart contract, that makes me as boring as when Gary talks. What does that mean? What is a smart contract?
Nobody said it was sexy. I'm just saying it's a technology underneath, right? I mean,
but if I'm an idiot, don't say anything, Gary. What does that mean? At the lowest common denominator, what is a smart contract?
Encryption and security, or what is the blockchain?
It's an if-then document, right? It's an if-then document. So take finance and the smart contract. If this happens, Gary and David are trading a Snickers for a Bitcoin, or a ETH. If Gary says, yes, I'll give you this Snicker, and David says, yes, I'll give you this amount of ETH, 0.5 or 1, if you're willing to overpay for the Snickers, then the smart contract executes. At that time, it's irrefutable. You can't go back and say, nah, I didn't give you that. I only gave you half the Snickers for that. Nope. It's on the blockchain. It's irrefutable. It's locked and loaded. It's executed by a smart contract. It's different from the Bitcoin blockchain that doesn't operate with smart contracts. So I think Bitcoin is the coin du jour. That's kind of the standard US dollar currency that we all live by. But the smart contract is actually the technology that's going to drive Web3 and what they call digital assets. You all should really start referring to this stuff as digital assets. It's where you couple in NFTs and things like that. Now, those are quite the scheme right now.
They've been the scheme since day one. Come on. I know a lot of artists that actually made a lot of money, and I'm, good for them. I'll support the artists.
Yes.
But I mean, everybody was like, wait, this can't be real, right? And then everybody just watched it go down. And now you can buy clip art for $10,000.
So you said something interesting there, though. In order for your smart contract dreams to occur, does crypto, Bitcoin in particular is what you're mentioning, does it have to succeed? Can I not do a smart contract for the Snickers with dollars?
Well, I mean, you can do a smart contract with anything. I mean, the point is the smart contract is a creation of the block on the blockchain, right? It creates the protocol, and every protocol is different, right? Ethereum is the base protocol that a lot of forks are coming off of. Take Justin's son has Tron. He's got a couple of things, but Tron is trying to be the quickest executor of contracts and blockchaining or building the chain. So that's just one of the things that they're really focusing on. It's accuracy goes down, but speed goes up. So there's a lot of different things that these blockchains can do. One, the coin itself is, again, you remember, is a byproduct of building this thing. It's not sexy, you all. It's the technology that hopefully adds to, I don't know, kind of jumps us to the next level, or jumps us to the next plane.
I just had one question though. Okay, so in this digital future, what do you see taking over first? More blockchain or the metaverse?
Oof. I think the metaverse is novel right now. I think it's going to take a little bit before you're able. You've seen the commercials where a doctor walks into an office and has goggles on, and she can see the person's knee after the surgery. That's cute. I'm sure that's available, but that's not going to be implemented right away. It's going to be Zuckerberg trying to sell a pair of, some drip for your avatar.
The reason I ask is because both of these technologies, like post-pandemic, came out as this is changing the world, and they're moving at the speed of light, and they're both working together, and everything's going to be different and new, and it's great. Everybody hop on board to this new, utopia of digital existence, and then we're just watch the humanity just kind of keep going. Yeah,
you got to put a heavy pitch on that and know that there's going to be massive failure. And then you can adopt. So, I mean, I had a little talk about being an early adopter, and you're going to have to get those early adopters squeezed out before the majority of people start to really buy into it.
Yeah, David said before that just the breakthrough technology is the actual secret sauce and the way that it's going to be improved moving forward.
I think that this is all tied in. I think I've said this before, but Mark Zuckerberg's metaverse, I believe in 10 years or so, we will look back and say he was onto something, but he was ahead of his time. Mm-hmm. Because I think none of that works. And I don't think and I think the blockchain stuff goes kind of part with this, because then everything becomes more digital than physical at that point. I mean, we're obviously very digital now, but if I have these glasses that are technological marvels, which they're coming, they're not anywhere close, but they're coming. I have no doubt that my children will be wearing them. They will be my grandchildren's cell phone, right? That will be a huge, huge thing. We'll all look like we're in an optometrist's office. And once that happens, I think everything changes. And I think blockchain goes along with that, because now I see that guy wearing some cool shoes. I want his shoes. I don't want a copy of those shoes. I want his shoes. Blockchain works really well in that regard, because now you can change and do that stuff. but I think we got all really excited about it, just like we're getting excited about AI now, because it's new and novel and exciting sounding, and it's a neat future, or a scary one, depending on how you want to look at it. But the metaverse stuff, I think, it ramped up too early before we were ready for it. We don't have the hardware needed. The Quest 2 is neat, but I'm not wearing that thing outside of my very closed room where no one can see me because I look like a tool doing my supernatural all the time. My wife walked in me this morning working out. Dude, there's nothing that makes you feel more stupid than someone watching you do supernatural. Oh my gosh.
Well, when they record it and then post it, that's better. But yeah, no one's walking into a coffee shop with the headphones on or the headset on and then pretending they're on 5 or 6 virtual screens working,
I am curious what Apple's doing.
I'm waiting for that video.
Apple's got something in the works. They're going to be very expensive. They're going to be very high end for what today brings. I am very curious because they are known for, they change paradigms. The iPhone was not the first cell phone, right? But it changed the world. The Mac was not the first PC, but it changed the world.
Even the iPod.
The iPod, well, that was the first of its real kind of anything. Of that one they actually probably invented, but unless you want to call the Walkman, which, rocking that. Anyway, I'm old.
I had a Walkman.
So I mean,
no worries.
Did you have a Walkman? Nice.
How old do you think I am, man? I mean, I'm 44. This was right in my era, right?
Gosh, that kills me, man. You are my age and you have all that stellar hair. It just kills me. You and Gary both can just die in a fire.
I still have boxes of cassettes that I've kept because they mean a lot to me. And believe it or not, now some of them are worth upward of $6,000.
No way.
All right, first tape, a quick throwback. What was the first cassette tape that you ever owned? Do you remember it?
Yeah, Iron Maiden, Number of the Beast.
All right.
David. Wow. How old were you when you got your tape of Iron Maiden?
Yeah, that's strong.
I think it was like 9 or 10 or something, but I remember because there was no way. I remember picking it up from the little cassette rack that was at the end of the store. It was like a tall shelf that's on the wall with little slots, and walking up to my mom and thinking in my head, there's no way she's going to let me buy this because of the image on the front of Eddie and because of the name of the album.
Yeah.
So I was like, Mom, can I have this? And she's like, yeah, okay. Wow. So I'll never forget that.
That's like my parents not realizing that we had Leisure Suit Larry on our old DOS machine when I was like 10 years old, and they had no idea what it was.
Don't tell anyone.
So because my parents put the computer in the solarium, which that was just a fancy name for a hallway, but with some windows. But it was a very public space, and that's where our computer is. So whenever my parents would go into the room, here comes Leisure Suit Larry on. That's probably way too much information. But my first cassette, I'm guessing it was something Disney related. Let's be honest. I'm not quite as advanced.
I had
as
records
Gary.
prior to that cassette. Yeah.
I remember my brother was 4 years older than me, so he always was the music
Wait,
guy.
we didn't ask our guest.
All right.
Well, we haven't finished. I haven't answered yet. Can I
Tim,
answer?
what was
first?
your first cassette?
Fine, I won't answer. That's fine. No one cares. Whatever.
I think Leisure Suit Larry was a lot of insight into you anyway, Dave. That was a bit.
Yeah, we didn't want anymore. We're trying to steer it away from that.
No, my first tape that I bought was Kool and the Gang's Celebration. Thought it was awesome.
Nice.
Yeah, not bad. I mean, that's doable. But I will tell you, I found Method Man's Tikal walking on the sidewalk one day, and it turned me on to Wu-Tang.
What?
Somebody just had dropped it out of their Walkman. I picked it up.
The cassette I was referencing, the collector's item, I have the original Raekwon purple tape for Bill for Cuba.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
I'm getting sleepy.
Yeah.
Oh,
Me and Tim can just keep going. David, why don't you check out?
Oh my gosh.
Sweet.
I remember I had a 45 that my brother, I was fascinated by the little bitty one, right? The little record.
Yeah.
And it was Spies Like Us with Paul McCartney. And it was for that really bad movie.
No, that was a great movie.
No.
Are you kidding?
No,
That's one of
we've
my
already
favorites.
established your movie taste is bad.
Wait,
so
you're saying Spies Like Us isn't a good movie?
it is not a good movie. No.
Yeah, David's got the worst taste when it comes to music, comedy, movies. He's horrible.
Gosh. Yeah. Tim, do you like Zoolander?
Actually, no, I'm not a Zoolander fan.
There we go. How about Napoleon Dynamite?
Yes, big Napoleon Dynamite fan. Strong movie.
All right. Fine. I think I'm just going to let you two talk because
Welcome to the Biz Dev Podcast with your host, Gary, and I'm here with my guest, Tim.
I'm just going to sign
David
off
might join us,
because
might not.
my
Don't need him.
intellectual knowledge is way beyond yours, your little tiny brains. All right, fine. Let's talk about finance.
right.
Let's talk about something you actually care about. TradeWinds. What do you guys do for a living?
TradeWinds is a registered firm. It's an investment advisory firm. So it's birthed out of the institution of Wells Fargo and Wachovia, where I started. And I wanted to start my own, lead my own. We do planning and investment management for people.
Okay, so you help people with their investments. Is that the cheesy way of boiling it down?
Yeah, I mean, that's the hallmark version. Sure. We help people get their plans and learn. There's a couple of parts the reasons why we did it. I'm more proud of why we're starting TradeWinds rather than Tim Whitney, financial advisors, wealth management, make you feel good. So,
yeah, what was the passion for the move? What was behind that?
Yeah, I started back in 2003 with my father. What a great way to spend time with your dad. 20 years I got him by my side. So that's really how I got into the business. We never talked baseball or anything or music. He was a big music head, but we connected in finance and economics. So I had a chance to work with him after college. Found out that I was good in statistics and money management. I was just a big nerd, stat nerd, was good at it. And I also got a chance to learn from him. Over that time with Wachovia cratering and being picked up by Wells Fargo in the crash, 07, 08, 09 crash.
So you wanted to do something different. Now, I might be putting too fine of a point on this, but when I have had personally horrible luck with financial advisors, just bad. And it took me a long time to realize the difference between a broker, or not a broker, that's the wrong term, but a financial manager and a fiduciary, which I didn't know the difference of. Once I found that out, that's like the first thing I asked my people, are you a fiduciary? Because for those who don't know, that means that they have to, by law, think of you first rather than they're just a dude who has a license of some sort. And they don't have to care about what they could care about. The big boy, generally a lot of the like Ameriprise and those guys, a lot of those are just, I don't know their actual term, but they're financial advisors, not fiduciaries, right?
Right.
And so that was surprising to me because I absolutely got taken for a win because those guys sell me insurance and all this stuff that I didn't know I needed. Maybe I did, maybe I didn't, but it was all Ameriprise, right? It was all their stuff. They're just making themselves money. And so long story short, I found that they didn't care about me. So that's always brutal. But the other thing is I've noticed is there are people who start with the no minimums, but that gets hard, right?
That's right.
Now you've got 100 clients that are making you no money forever. And 20 years from now, let's say 5 of them do very, very well. Now they've got a portfolio of $2 million. And you're now making, let's say you have their traditional 1% off of that portfolio. You're making some sweet money off of that. Awesome. You've earned it, right? You've worked with them for 20 years. But the risk is now I'm out. I want to go work on one of these big boys because I got real money now and I'm out the door and you just lost your payday.
That's right.
So where I see that is a lot of the financial guys I've spoken to over the years, they start with the same ideals you're talking about, but eventually they realize, man, that's a lot of work. I just want the big whales and there the minimums come back.
That's right. So the difference between me is that I've already been down that path, gone down, moved up toward the whales, had the minimums, and then recalibrated and came back to what I think is a pure level. First off, let me go back. That fiduciary standard you're talking about absolutely is a part of this sector when you move out. The internal side is called suitability standard, which is just the way to wire around that fiduciary responsibility. And again, that's that nasty little culture that you don't see on the street. And that we can leave a nasty little taste in your mouth when something happens. They recommend an Ameriprise product, but it's suitable for you rather than your best interest, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's true. Eventually money's going to probably win, But think about it. I mean, if you're building a culture, so I'm trying to be the Saturday Night Live of the RIA side. Bring in the young talent, bring in the young creativity. Have them work with what's happening in the culture, future proof the business, or at least my business. If others fail, that's on you. But if the smaller accounts stay small, then you keep bringing younger people in to still work and service and learn and grow with these people, right? But you're playing the long game. If we take David, we take you, and you start saving money over time, and you become the multimillionaire, then yeah, we get paid for our work with you.
And you should. But that's huge risk, right? You've done this. You've done well by me, right? You've made me $1 million. By the way, he's not my financial guy, in case anybody was wondering. But let's say you did work really. That's not. Sounds like I'm pitching you, but I'm not. You say you've done really well. But if I'm a scuzzball, like you've worked hard and you've done well with my money, and it's now worth $2 million or whatever, now the risk is on you, not me, right? Because I could just pick up and move.
Sure, but you could write code for somebody. You could develop this huge code system, and then somebody either swipes it and goes somewhere else, or they say, appreciate all the development you've done. I'm going over here because they're, $1 cheaper.
But the difference is I've made money the whole time. You've made pennies the whole time until bammo, I make it finally really good money, right? You put up with me when I was making you $200 a year. Right. And my finance guy is the same way. Like I've been bringing him, he's a young guy and has no minimums or any of that stuff. And so we're bringing in, I'm referring people to him who have just starting. And so he's making, $20 because they've got a portfolio that they just started. It's got $3,000 in it. Right. Yeah. And so that's where he's making pennies. You're investing in that. If I'm developing for you, I'm making money from day one. If you leave, sure, the gravy train stops, but at least I made money while I worked for you. You're still giving me the same amount of effort for that $20. Hey, that's where I was like, man, that's a rough business.
Well, no, I mean, you're going to smoke out the jerks. I mean, you'll just smoke them out. I mean, sure, that's the cost of doing business, but for every person that does that little move, 10 of them are going to stay with you because you've been with them while they're quote unquote poor or whether quote unquote uneducated. If you're a learning system with them, more than likely people are going to feel a little loyalty. It's not honor amongst thieves. I mean, you're going to have the outlier and hopefully you smoke them out before, they waste a lot of your time. But, it's the part of the business, cost of doing business.
Yeah, I would assume too, like you mentioned, bringing in younger customers and clients and ones that don't have, a huge amount of money to invest right away or to give to you to invest right away. But just taking out the scuzziness that you referred to and just kind of immediately showing them trust and confidence and then making sure that remains over the course of a year, 2 years, 3 years. I mean, just those two things alone, trust and confidence in your financial life, I think that's definitely going to be like a very strong hook to keep in them and probably going to develop that loyalty.
That's right. And again, I'm a veteran since 2003. It's not like, I don't have a $20 million account that I can't handle those kind of assets. So the range is there. The complexity is there. But again, I'm also talking about bringing in the advisors or the groups that are young and starting off as well. So those advisors are also going to be learning and building up their practice over 20 years. It's a long game business. It really is. And so the expectation is I'm no longer managing this in 20 years that somebody else is chief executive officer of TradeWinds or there's a board running it, right? And it's got multiple advisors. That's the point. It's not the Tim Whitney TradeWinds group, right? It's TradeWinds.
So I'm going to take a hard turn.
Good. All right.
Because I always try to bring the podcast back to talk to the business owners, the striving business owners, not necessarily the finance nerds, right? They're probably not listening to this podcast. But what I want to make sure, how do we expand this to talk about business in general? How do we take your knowledge? Like if I am an aspiring person running business, now you're running into these people a lot. I'm guessing a lot of your clients are like this,
sure,
where they are aspiring entrepreneurs and that kind of thing. But what in your business do you think would expand to anyone? And I'm not asking the question yet, by the way. But how do you expand this to encompass to anybody you're running a company? You're starting, you went through the slog that we talk about finding. Now, I'm guessing you borrowed and brought over clients when you left, so you have an advantage there. But you went through the slog, you started a business, you took that risk. All of that was true. So how is that different in your experience? And how do you advise other people, again, who are in the middle of those struggles?
Yes, I did come over and had some Insta revenue there too. So mine is unique, obviously. But yes, all of the other parts and the building blocks are very, very real. The things that are unforeseen, the quote unquote hurdles. And I do in my business see a lot of people looking to start up. And you can see a lot of it now is I want to be a real estate agent, or I want to get into ownership of property and be rental property. And that's just because it's the hot time. That will quickly, burn out. The word of advice on the caution side is know your numbers. Really take a real reality check. There's nothing more difficult than for somebody to come in and meet with me and my team, and we find out that you're projecting $50,000-$60,000 of a revenue coming in, and you have no skill set, you have no connectivity with it, you don't have any lending, and yet you've got this forecast on what your revenue is going to be. You really need to know your numbers, and that's a big deal to build off of. I would say the other side of that is, me personally, I'm just a manifester by nature. I knew I wanted to do this. I wanted to build this business. I had issues with the industry that I was working in, and I put that out there 5, 6, 7 years ago. And it's just one of my kind of, universal superpowers. I just like to manifest, and they tend to come true. I just keep putting it out there. But for business owners, I would say manifest. Just because your numbers may not show it doesn't mean that thing is squashed. Think about it, write it down, push yourself, ask around a lot of people. There's nothing wrong with taking a good college try or a good leap. But I would say fundamentally know your numbers first. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think that's great.
Yeah. I have a question too. This is more about marketing in general. So you did come over with some clients and you kind of had that, you built it from there. Are you at a point now where you're still needing to do a lot of networking and reaching out and trying to acquire new business? Or are you kind of what David calls in a stage where you have your own gravity and word of mouth and networking and clients kind of bring more clients to you?
There's a natural gravity that comes with 20 years. There is that. So I don't have to work as hard is not the right word. I don't have to be the ask for referrals, but absolutely.
You're not worried about doing cold calls and stuff like that.
No, right? But I am stepping into a very, very uncomfortable place in my life too. Again, with this move, I said I'd challenge myself. I did a TED talk, stood on stage, just ready to fumble my words and hit the wall. I'm on a podcast, and quite honestly, I'm a horrific public speaker, or at least my hands are sweating constantly. But I'm stepping into an uncomfortable spot in my life, and I'm going to continue to do that. I hired a guy, Mike. And Mike gets us out there. He's our marketing person. He's putting us on LinkedIn. He's connecting us with people. He's making sure that the voice and pictures and things are being seen. So we still want to market. In the reality, y'all, I don't want to be a small RIA that broke out from institutions and then fall off into the sunset. I've got bigger dreams, man. I've got aspirations and goals, and we're going to try to change the face of the business. We already hit it in the mouth once just by creating TradeWinds, and I want to keep going after it. And I think a lot of advisors and a lot of people feel that these days. The institutionalized world it's really nasty.
We're speaking of finance and investments and stuff like that. And I want to wrap back around because I think there's another point to be made there. But I think if I were a small business owner or wannabe small business owner, and I'm listening to this podcast and you're like, what does this have to do with me? I think the best thing you can take out of this is if you hear Tim's passion and you don't hear that in your own voice, you probably need to rethink some stuff, because that's what a founder sounds like. They trip over themselves because they're so excited to do whatever it is they're doing, whether it's finance or building websites or street cleaning, it doesn't matter. But that's, I think, the common denominator of everybody we are interviewing is, and it's funny because we've been doing this long enough now that some of the people we talk to don't have that. You can hear it in their voice. This has
Yeah, you
become
can tell.
drudgery, even though it's a new company, right? They're living their dream. But me and Gary, you know, we talk privately after the cameras turn off, and we're like, huh, he's not really into that, or she's not really into that. I mean, it happens, right? So it's interesting. So, I mean, if you're listening to this and go, this doesn't pertain to me, ignore his words for a moment. Just feel that, because he's in this.
Well, ignore the topic of finance, but listen to the way he's saying these words. Because when you said punch the industry in the face and keep going, like that hits me completely. Because I too was a reluctant corporate stooge for quite a while, and then
and I've made him one again.
Ducked out of that. Well, no, actually, I mean, truth be told, the reason why I love being part of Big Pixel is because it is nothing like that.
Yeah.
That's because I have no idea what I'm doing.
Well, I mean, but you know what? That's a lot of the fun, though, right? I mean, and I appreciate you saying that. I truly do. That really reinforces this part. But being able to break out and not have to play by the rules of the company, you get to make your own rules a little bit, and you're going to make mistakes. But now we can. What a creative way to make mistakes. We can go try. And I would say one of the other parts for me personally is I know my limitations or my shortcomings, and you got to hire the power players for your shortcomings. You know, you have to hire those that can keep you in check and accountable and keep your integrity there. But then also you have to give them the creativity to grow and do those fun things. So Gary, I love that for you. I love that you left a corporate stooge. I'm glad. It's a funny thing to say, but sometimes you feel like that. You're going, I'm an adult. I'm a grown up, man. Like, why am I having to do this? Why am I answering to this department who doesn't know me? And now you get to go out there.
All the while knowing you're just a number on a spreadsheet in someone's larger picture.
That's right.
Gary, you're just number 32748-4. So I don't know what's really changed.
It's -3. You don't even know my number.
Jeez. It's true, because you're unimportant. What I do want to bring it back, we're not even a corporation. We're an LLC. Anyway, I guess that is a corporation, isn't it? Limited liability corporation. All right, shut up.
That's right, David. Keep going, buddy. Bring it back.
Bring it back. So one thing I do want to talk about that is finance. That is important, and that's interesting. I don't know if we've talked about this before, but if we have, so what? All right. One of the things that really, so for lots of way too much information, retirement has become very personal to me. One, I'm getting older, but two, in my family, it has not been, for a lot of our family members, a big deal. And so I made it a personal bugaboo, for lack of a better term.
Cool.
There's got to be a better term. And we did a simple IRA because we're too tiny. But I have encouraged and pushed and prodded all of my people to invest and think about retirement. And a lot of them had never thought about it in their life. And these are not right out of college people. They're in their 30s. And I was like, don't be me. I didn't think about retirement seriously until I was over 40. Don't be me. And so I'm trying to use that. And I think any business owner, if you're doing it right, the reason I'm bringing this up is if you're doing, and at least in my mind, if you're doing it right, you're thinking about your people, right? And you're thinking about your people, not running a business shouldn't be an exercise of getting you rich. I know that's a side effect sometimes, but that shouldn't be the goal. Your goal should be to bring up a lot of people and help a lot of people, whether that's your clients or your employees or whatever. So as part of that, you need to be thinking about their retirement. If you have employees, you need to think about their retirement, because they're probably not. And you're the old person in the room, theoretically, quote unquote, right? And you're the responsible one, and you have an ability as a business owner to set up something like a simple IRA or 401k or whatever you want to call it, and do matching and really help them along their thing. And if you want to show people you care, I don't care how big you are, that simple IRA costs almost nothing to run. The 401k gets pricey. That's why we don't have one. But that simple IRA costs almost nothing. So do it. Like if you have employees, do it. That's all I can say. All right. Off my soapbox.
Well, no, I'll pivot off of that though. But I mean, as a leader, if you're going to start a company or you're going to be a leader, that's the price of being a leader. I mean, if you're going to be starting a company and employing people, you better just get that in your head that you've got to protect them. You've got families to protect. You've got retirements to protect, and you better not mess it up. you will mess it up. I've messed it up, but you have to quickly pivot and make sure that you're doing this for the right reasons. And that's the cost of being a leader. You got a target on your chest, so when you mess up, you're going to take the arrow, and you're not allowed to complain up because you are the up, right? That means everybody's talking
There's
about
no one to complain to.
And it stops with you. That's just what happens when you're a leader, and you better have good intentions for your people. I mean, I agree with you, David.
Well, on that happy note, Gary, give him the question.
All right, Tim. So we ask every one of our guests this. Now, finance or not, doesn't really matter because you are a business owner. So we wanted to know what your top 3 pieces of advice would be for any new business owner, entrepreneur, or a startup.
Yeah, I would say we already touched on it. So the biggest one, I think, is have your passion first. Be passionate. I mean, I'm sure that's cliche, but it really is, because it'll get you through the dark times. It'll get you through the times when you're tripping out in the shower, when you're thinking alone, or right before you go to bed, or driving. What's going to be that driver for? So passion first, probably money is second. Money will be a byproduct. So that's big. You'll be tempted to do everything. You'll be quite tempted to do it all. Human resources, finance, operations, marketing, and sales. You'll have to be able to know how to speak those different languages, throw the different hats on, but you can't be a controlling entity on all of those parts. It'll crush you. I would say take very, very smart people, smarter than you, if you can find them and they're out there, and then empower them to go. So don't wear every hat. You'll be tempted to, but don't. The last one is to absolutely dream as big as you can. Why sell yourself short? You know what I mean? My dad, he always used to say, that's when I would bring home C's and when I was in school, and he would say, Tim, would you study for the A plus? So when you inevitably screw up and you get a B or a B plus, you're doing well. If you study for the B plus and you get a C minus, there's your problem, right? So dream as big as you can, shoot for the $1 billion. There's nothing wrong with wanting to be a billionaire. So when you don't, you're still very, very good, well off. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. You touched on some, the passion, and then not wearing all the hats and knowing, when to hire someone that knows more, or don't pretend to be the expert in everything. Like, that's a reoccurring theme that we see coming up quite often, or I should say we hear coming up quite often with a lot of our guests. So yeah.
Be an expert in something though.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. But you cannot be the expert of everything, especially if you're growing.
That's right. And people are going to read through that. I mean, anybody would. But this has been interesting here. This has been fun.
This has been
so
a great
if anyone wanted
conversation.
to reach out, what, Gary, shut up, man. What?
No, we're trying to get you out of this. Me and Tim.
Wait, David's pitching me. Hold on one sec. Go ahead, David. Let's hear this. What do you got?
I'm trying. No, I'm trying to. No, I'll pitch you later. That's not happening right now. I was wrapping it up. All right.
You were asking how anybody who wants to know more about Tim and TradeWinds can find out some more.
Yeah, that was what I was doing before I was rudely interrupted. So how would they get in touch with you, Tim?
LinkedIn's really a great way. I mean, LinkedIn's fun. I think it's a really cool way to meet people and talk. You keep a little level of anonymity. So reach out to me on LinkedIn, follow me on that. I don't have Twitter. You can probably follow Mike Manganillo. He's our sales and marketing guy too. But if you want to find out more about the firm and the company and what we're doing, just go to tradewinds.global. That's our website. And we're really excited about what we're doing. We've got a lot of plans for the future. Crypto is one of them. We're really going to be partnering up with a company, Eaglebrook Advisors, and they specialize in this part. So we're going to connect to crypto. We're not going to sell it. We're going to just educate around it and have the ability, speaking of not being experts. So we're going to turn those over to the experts and then work with clients for it too. So
he's going to mint his own coin. I'm already on it. Yeah. I'm on to you.
The tin. Yeah. All right. So we will add those links in our show notes, and we will have them everywhere this podcast is published. And if anybody wants to reach out to us, ask us questions, or leave any comments below this video, you can do that on YouTube. You can email us at hello@thebigpixel.net, or you could reach out to any one of our social media channels, even TikTok before it's banned.
Hey, and before, nice. One last thing that we don't normally do, but if you are enjoying our podcast, don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app. And if you use Apple Podcasts, which most of you do, I know who you are. No, I'm just kidding. But most of the people who do listen to us use Apple. Leave us a review because that really matters, and it's really helpful. So it doesn't have to put words in it. I like when you say nice things, but a little 5-star helps. So anyway.
And also on the comment, leave the first cassette tape that you ever picked up. What was your first vinyl or cassette tape, or maybe the first song on your iPod? I'd be interested in that.
Yeah, depending on how old you are.
Yeah.
All righty, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us, Tim. This has been a lot of fun.
Yeah. Thank you, gentlemen. That was much appreciated having me on your show.
All right. On that note, then we will see you guys next week.
See you.
TradeWinds Global is an independent investment advisory firm that offers a variety of different investment vehicles. This podcast is provided for informational purposes only and should not be construed as individual investment advice. Past performance is not indicative of future results, and any opinions expressed thereof are subject to change. The information here within is obtained from various sources, and TradeWinds does not guarantee the accuracy or completeness of information provided by third parties. The information in this report is given as of the date indicated and believed to be reliable. TradeWinds assumes no obligation to update this information or to advise on further developments relating to it. TradeWinds does not offer legal or tax advice and will not accept investment offers via social media.